What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Top of the List, where this week we are reviewing Mortal Kombat. As promised, this film came out very recently. By the way, this is Dom. I'm RB. Sorry, I'm just really juiced because I can't even wait. I want to give my score for this film. I was so excited on how this film turned out. I'm going to give this one off the bat an 8.5 out of 10. I love this film. For those of you that grew up playing the video games, like myself, I think it's an awesome representation of the video game, but an original story using the characters that we know and love. So really, really excited. I expected to come out of this movie giving it a 5 or 6 out of 10, thinking it was just going to be pure action. But I loved the story. I loved the action, obviously. And I've droned on too long about this. So Dom, how about you talk a little bit more about what your thoughts were on Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, I didn't know this was the top of the list with RB and Dom.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
That's how it usually is.
Yeah.
No, like Ryan, I'm totally with you on this one. Fully surprised by what they pulled off in this movie. I don't know if we have our director's name in here or not. I don't think so.
I can pull it up. You go ahead and make your point. Yeah.
But yeah, this one totally surprised me. If you don't know the history of the Mortal Kombat movies, the games have always been fantastic. The games have always had a pretty cool story, funny stories. And, I think that this one surprised me, especially compared to the 1990s one, and especially Mortal Kombat. I think it was Annihilation, which is famously known as one of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah.
And this one was not like those two movies at all.
Nope.
This one had a serious tone to it for most of it, but it also wasn't afraid to tell some funny jokes and give us some awesome one-liners.
As has been the history of Mortal Kombat with the games.
Absolutely.
And your directorial debut, Simon McQuoid.
He did a great job in this one.
Yes.
I do have a few critiques for him.
Agreed.
Because as you know, I think they're going to make a sequel. That's not a spoiler to say this is the beginning of a franchise.
Right.
And I think rightfully so. They started it off well here. Okay. But there are some improvements I want to see in the next film, which I will go to in after we give our spoiler review. But yeah, so without going into spoilers, my score right now, I'm sitting at a 7.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe you can convince me 7.5, Ryan. But right now I'm going to sit firm at 7.
Right. And I'm going to put it out there as well. My 8.5 out of 10 is a very inflated score. This movie was pure nostalgia from, and I'm not talking about the original video game. I'm not going to date myself that far back. But the reboot launched in around 2011, I think.
The NetherRealm one.
Correct. Or what I grew up playing, and that's what this truly did resemble. Of course, I got to be more familiar with the original games and watching the Netflix series. I think it was called Game Over.
Yeah.
That was very much a history of video games, and never really realized how far back the Mortal Kombat series went.
Yeah.
But having grown up playing the NetherRealms releases starting in 2011, I believe, made me so nostalgic for this film. So I think like in a real world, my score would have been closer to like a 7.5 if I was just basing it off the film. But just because going back to hanging out with my friends after school and playing this on the Xbox, I had to give it an 8.5.
Yeah. And there's a few times where I was watching this and I was like, okay, yeah, they took that right from the game, which is exactly what I wanted.
Yes.
And fully satisfied. A few things. Now, I think we should talk vaguely about characters before we go to spoilers.
Okay.
There's a couple characters that are standouts in this one. One of them is a big spoiler at the end, and he's my favorite character, but I don't want to go into it. But I just do want to say we open the movie seeing this character, and we end the movie seeing this character. And every time this guy is on screen, it is absolutely incredible. So there's that. And then, of course, I think we should talk about the famously new character that they created just for this movie. His name's Cole Young, right? I thought he did a great job in this one. I was behind his character arc. I thought there wasn't that much meat to chew on there, not much depth, except for just he had a family. He was a boxer. It was your bare bones main character, and I'm fine with that in this kind of movie.
Yeah, I was very curious to see how they go. I hope this isn't a spoiler. In case preemptive, a slight spoiler warning here. I was a little nervous to see how they would go in a Mortal Kombat film that didn't center around Johnny Cage.
Yeah, he's not in this
sort
one.
of our main character. They went with a new character, Cole Young, and I was a little worried, but I like what they did with it. I really enjoyed this character. I really enjoyed his story. Like you said, it wasn't something that was, hugely necessary for the story, but I think Louis Tan, who played him, did a nice job.
Yes.
And he had some cool action scenes. I don't know if he did his own stunts or not, but
maybe
if he did, or if not, the stuntman did a great job. I think there were some cool fighting scenes, as there were with everybody. As there was with everybody.
Here's the thing. None of it, I wouldn't say for the most part, any of the actors in this movie bombed it.
Right, correct.
Yeah,
I have one primary complaint about one actor and a couple of actors in this film. But,
okay.
We can go into that in spoilers.
But with that said, easy to bomb this kind of role. Easy to play it overly cheesy, overly corny.
Yes.
But in this one, it seemed like it was funny because everyone was so, taking it themselves so seriously. It was serious.
And I am led to believe that Louis Tan did do his own stunts because he actually got his start as a stuntman in Hollywood before getting into acting. He did stunts for the Fast and Furious films.
Excellent. Even more impressive. Awesome job, man. And a lot of guys did their stunts in this one, which is another great aspect. So without further ado, let's go right into specifics.
Yes.
Let's go into spoilers.
Yeah. So there we go. Now the full on. Wee.
So I'm interested, Ryan. Let's start with your negatives. What characters didn't work for you in this one?
I think with our antagonist group, I like the story development of all of our protagonists, of Sonia Blade, of Liu Kang, of Jax. I like their story development, and of course Raiden.
Me too. Yes.
But I felt like all of our villains, who in the games have some cool backstories, were just kind of, let's throw the coolest, sort of antagonists from the video games and just put them on screen. And I know people who enjoy the video games know these characters, but not everyone in the audience played the video games.
Absolutely.
So, and that starts at the top with our primary bad, who we don't even get a name for in the film. It's Shang Tsung, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And I was kind of disappointed by his performance. It was very flat.
Yeah.
Didn't do much except for that one scene where he goes into the soul sucking.
Yeah. Here's my thing, Ryan, with this one. They kind of have a slippery slope here with these Mortal Kombat movies.
Yes.
Go too far into it and you risk losing a little something of the Mortal Kombat, of the action. Go too far into the backstories here. Now, they kind of went a little too far in the opposite direction for me, just showing us our favorite characters, like you said, and that's it. Let's just see these guys fight, and that's all. And I think that the only one that they did a little bit of service to was Goro. They showed a giant statue and his people and how he's a prince. I like that there was a little bit of meat to chew on there, but not too much. And his design was incredible.
Yeah.
Can we just take a break here and just say another movie? The visual effects in this one were pretty great.
Yes, and that brings me to my one other, just nitpicking here.
Yeah.
Very disappointed. Loved pretty much every character design except for Molina, who is one of my absolute favorite characters in Mortal Kombat.
Weird mouth girl.
She is so awesome. She eats people. She loves eating blood and guts, and that's her thing. And I thought she was really misutilized in this. I mean, obviously, we finally get to see towards the end when she's fighting. She's not fighting Sonya. She's fighting, I think, Cole.
No, it's Liu Kang.
She's fighting Liu Kang, and we get to see her finally tear through the scars on her mouth and the whole mouth come out. But we get to see her taste blood, but she doesn't even try and eat anyone, and that made me really sad.
Yeah. They totally undersold it, and that leads me to a little point I want to make here, Ryan. This was a rated R movie through and through.
Yep. But
here's the thing. I know you disagree with me on this one. For me, it seemed like only the finishers, when people die, it was the Mortal Kombat I knew. Now, I know that in the games, you can't slice people's arms off for the rest of the fight. That wouldn't be fair.
Right.
But this is a movie. This is something different. They could have made the stakes a little bit higher, I think, in this one with, I think the only one that they did show that had a lot of stakes was Jax. He lost both his arms and he still had to fight through that, which was a great character arc in the end.
Right. Well, yeah, that was something before I knew this was going to be a series. I was a little disappointed. We killed off some of our main characters really early on. Obviously, they bring Jax back. We think he dies. We just see him, have his arms torn off by Sub-Zero. But I mean, like, for example, the finisher on, not Goro. Oh my God. What's the guy's name? Who has over the spikes where Jax fucking crushes his head in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hammer guy.
Yeah. I'm going to get his name right here. I think it may be Raiko. I think it's Raiko.
I think you're right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I was just kind of upset that, all of a sudden all of our like cool villains are getting killed, but later on we find out that our main villain has the ability to bring their souls back and rise them up, which we'll see later on in the series.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully
if they make another one.
Yep.
Yeah, so the villains in this one kind of underserved, but yeah, I don't know. There was a little bit of a good backstory between the guy that's really fast and Kano. I like that there was some history there. I like that they did that. It's just I wanted every character to have something to them. Molina's just there.
Right.
Soul guy is just there. He's bad. He's just bad.
Correct.
Hammer guy is just hammer guy.
And one of I think the most underrated things about Mortal Kombat, at least the NetherRealms relaunches, are it's not just about the blood and gore. The stories, the cutscenes in between the fights are excellent.
Right.
Which I think we got taken advantage of with our protagonists and very disserved for our antagonists.
Yeah, that is probably the biggest flaw of this movie. They focused mainly on the protagonists and not enough on the antagonists. And I could see why. They just wanted us to have some fun. And that's totally cool. But I think that's something they can improve in the next film.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, we've talked about our antagonists. Let's just go over all our protagonists.
Yep.
We talked about how much we like Jax's character arc.
Right. Yep.
Jax was a big surprise for this one for me. I really liked his character arc. I loved when we got to see his true form, his true arms.
Yeah.
That was a great moment. And his finisher where he slaps the guy's head and crushes it.
Yeah. Straight out of the game, too.
Straight out of the game. Totally amazing. So Jax was a big thumbs up for me on this one. Great on that. How about some other ones, Ryan?
Yeah. So we talked about Cole Young. We talked about Jax. Let's talk about another one that I'm going to give sort of a negative spin here.
Okay.
Sonia Blade.
Okay. I can see where you're coming from on that.
I was very disappointed. She was cool at the beginning.
Yeah, she was super cool.
But just it was kind of too easy for her to finally, get her mark and find her. What is it, Okana?
Okana, yeah.
Yeah. She finally kills. Spoiler alert here, Kano.
Yeah.
To get her mark, and then she just shows up in the next scene and she has blasty wrists.
Yeah.
It's kind of.
I wanted more of a build-up, more of a reveal.
Right. I was almost hoping like they go, because if I recall correctly from the game, she's just one of the champions. She has the marking and she's part of Mortal Kombat. She doesn't have to earn it by killing someone. And she finds her Akana. And I was hoping maybe even they'd show like she doesn't even need the marking to find her Akana and she's just that much of a badass.
Yeah.
Because she was badass at the beginning of the film.
But here's my other thing at the beginning of this film. I loved when she was fighting. I don't know why they just decided to make her the expositional mouthpiece at the beginning.
That's fair.
To me, it felt like we had not just one, but two big exposition dumps in this film. And that came through Sonia and Kano in that thing.
Right.
And then also we get to Raiden's fortress.
Yeah, Raiden's
and
temple.
we get an entirely another exposition
from Liu Kang.
Yep. So that was kind of a vice for this one in me.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can understand. Once again, I'm all in it for the story, so I love it.
Yeah, and I do have to say the better of those two exposition dumps is once we get to Raiden, once we get Liu Kang, once we get our cast of characters all together, that's when we feel it. Another big no-no in this one for me. The reason why I'm only giving this one a 7. Another big no-no is it seems like every mediocre, not mediocre, but just every mediocre part of an action movie is people walking through some desertous terrain. And it is just, it's in Aquaman where they just walk through the desert to find some mysterious place. It's in this one, they try to walk through the desert.
It's a Dom's favorite show, Avatar, when they're looking for Appa.
That's actually a good part of the show. I'm just
giving you a hard time because I know you love that show. No, I understand what you're saying. But that being said, I think it leads to a really cool fight scene between Sonia and I want to say Jax, I'm sorry, and Kano.
She just takes him down.
I think that was an awesome fight scene. There's some good quirky lines in it too with the GPS.
So that's kind of my one negative.
I want to go back to focusing on the positives though, because we keep bringing him up. I loved Kano in this. Kano is a role that bridges, almost like a Deadpool-esque role. That's what I'd want to compare it to.
He was a
plays it
scene
perfectly.
stealer in this one, man.
Yes, Josh Lawson, who plays Kano, is excellent.
Just perfectly. He just told it. You could tell this guy probably played the video games.
Yeah.
He probably knew what he was getting into. He's like, yeah, I want to be that character.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell from minute one, and he did a great job. He had maybe one joke that didn't hit for me.
Yeah.
The rest of them were just pure gold. And how about the amazing line after he kills the reptile guy?
Yeah.
Kano
wins.
I love that.
Yeah. Straight out of the video game. So cool. Pulls the heart out. Classic fatality there for Kano. Awesome as he kills the reptile.
Mm-hmm.
The reptilian. That's what it's called. Yeah.
Which is another cool design.
Yeah. Oh, well, all the CG characters are excellent. Yeah. Whether it's Goro, whether it's the reptilian, whether it's, like I said, Molina missed a little bit for me. But the soul sucking scene was really cool as well, where we see sort of the life coming out of Kung Lao.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just share, let's go into some more characters too, besides just Kano, Cole Young, Sonia, and Jax. Yeah. We have these two characters, Liu Kang, right?
Yeah. And Kung Lao.
Yep. And I think, Kung Lao wasn't in the movie that much, which was a little bit disappointing to me, but I think we can see him again. Maybe it's safe to say, since he got his soul sucked out, he might resurrect, but that's a tangent.
Right.
He had my favorite fatality, the spinning hat that slices them. And who did he slice? And he sliced someone in half.
I think it was the flying woman.
The flying lady, the winged lady.
Yeah.
Slices her in half, and you get to see it all split in half in her veins and organs. It was incredible. So yeah, he had the best fatality in my opinion.
I don't know. There's some great ones. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the Jax one because, like I said, it's straight out of the game. But I still think the greatest is Kano's when he pulls the heart out of the reptilian.
Yeah, totally. And man, I think that they did the action in this one was great for the most part. You could tell that Liu Kang and Kung Lao had some of the best action scenes because those guys seemed like they knew what they were doing. Cole Young seemed like he knew what he was doing. It just seemed like all the actors in this one felt like, we know how to do some action.
At least our main characters.
Our main characters.
Yeah, our protagonists.
Our protagonists, yes.
Now, I do want to say, thinking about the coolest action scenes in this film. Mm-hmm. And it's like you alluded to earlier, the film starts the same way that it ends. I mean, in the beginning, they have different names. It's Baihan and Hanzo Hasashi, who are fighting. And then in the finale, it's Sub-Zero and Scorpion, who of course we know are going to be the final battle. I mean, we see it right here in the whatever you want to call this title card, I guess.
These guys were my two favorite characters in the movie.
Agreed.
And you know what? This is something they could have totally messed up because these are two of the most famous characters from Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
I was surprised with how much justice they did to these characters.
Oh, without a doubt.
They did an incredible job, and especially Hanzo.
Yeah.
Wow. What a great backstory at the beginning. Mm-hmm. You actually feel for this guy. We're at the beginning of a Mortal Kombat movie where I'm like, okay, let's get to the blood and gore.
Yep.
And I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow, I feel for this guy.
Yeah, without a doubt.
This is great.
One of my favorite things about this film, why I'm not giving it a 6 or a 7. And call me controversial here, because I said this last week about the Godzilla and Kong movies, that you can't give a movie that's action for action's sake more than a 7 out of 10 or a 7.5 out of 10. But that's why I give this one a higher score, because you're right. There is an emotional draw to this film from minute one. It's not just Baihan shows up and kills.
And there's a rivalry there. Yeah. There's history there. There's so much that we can, so much meat to chew on there. Lots of detail. Mm-hmm. And I just love that.
It's incredible. And then how about the dialogue given by Scorpion when he comes back in that final battle? You thought I'd burn in the pits of hell, but I control its flames now, or something like that. So cool.
Yeah, and just him saying, "Get over here."
Yes.
So amazing.
Yes. Well, we get to see the birth of that weapon, the trowel, his wife's trowel that he ties a rope around, and that's sort of the birth of the signature Scorpion, knife or blade on a rope, on a chain.
Yeah, and you're right. The other cool line is when he rises from the dead, he's like, "I've risen from the dead to kill you."
Yes.
That's freaking awesome. Yeah. I was like, "Oh, we're doing this. Let's go."
Yeah.
And Scorpion versus Sub-Zero does not disappoint.
Not at all.
Not at all. It is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. And you know what? This action scene stands out, and this is kind of my biggest positive in the movie, but it also brings to mind my biggest negative with the action. The Scorpion versus Sub-Zero fight seems like most of it was done in one take, right? There's a long take of the camera where it's just these two fantastic actors, fantastic stunt actors going off at each other. Just don't cut the camera, keep going.
Correct.
And I was like, yes, give me more, give me more.
Yeah, straight out of the video.
Straight out of the video game. But the rest of the movie seemed to adopt a more modern action style that I'm not a big fan of.
Right.
The quick cut action.
Yep.
And I wanted to see more long takes. I love seeing these long takes. It's the reason why John Wick is so amazing. It's the reason why Daredevil was such an incredible show. It's the reason why Captain America Civil War was such an incredible action film. So many great action films adopt this long, no cut style, or let's take as many long takes as we can of just these guys wide shots fighting. And to me, it seemed like some of these ones, they had the actors, they had the stunt guys. It seems like this director in his first time didn't fully embrace his potential and adopt this, incredible action style, which is an area he can improve in.
Right.
So that's my one big dialogue there.
And I don't know. Obviously Dominic is it safe to say that you're sort of somewhat of a film expert? These are things that
I'd say a purist, an action film purist.
At this point, these are things that I'm not really looking at in the cuts. I'm watching it glued because of the action.
Right.
And for someone like me, and I think for someone of a more general audience, obviously, we've both taken film classes, but I'm not looking to analyze Mortal Kombat for its, film structure. I'm looking to watch the action and the blood and the gore, which I think, although it seems like some people disagree with me, I think it delivered.
It totally delivered.
Well, I think some people, as you said earlier, are saying that, we had it in the finishing moves, but, not so much before. I don't see it that way. I think it was done well.
Maybe could have upped the stakes a little bit, but then it's like, are we going to have people with missing eyeballs and missing ears? Like, that's only as far as it can go. Like, my one suggestion is when we were talking about Molina, why couldn't she have bitten off someone's nose or ear or pulled out someone's eye with her teeth? Like, that would have been awesome. I don't know. Like, they could have done a lot more with Molina.
I don't know.
You don't want to see that?
If they did that, I still would have said they didn't do enough with her. I want to see her finish him.
Yeah, but I want
her fatality where she's literally eating someone's intestines out.
That's what I mean. It's like they should have slowly built up to that. Let's see her rip someone's eye out and then continue to fight.
All we get is her tasting Sonia Blade's blood and saying, this is not the blood of a champion.
Yeah.
That was all we got from her.
Yeah, pretty disappointing. But let's go into the potential of this franchise.
Yes.
I think we've covered everything, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So after we get Scorpion defeating Sub-Zero, spoiler, we get our villain saying, well, I'll just bring them back. And then we get Raiden, who, I will say Raiden was a little bit underutilized in this.
A little bit.
But we get him saying, your next goal is to go out and find the other champions.
And we're going to finally get the Mortal Kombat tournament. In this one, we didn't really get the tournament, right? It was just kind of a precursor.
Well, that was the idea, was he said, I'm going to bring the tournament to you guys, because they won 9 in a row. But they said, now, he said, this time I brought warriors, next time I'll bring armies. So I don't even know if we're going to get the tournament or if we're going to cut straight to the invasion of Earth from Outworld.
Yeah.
Which we maybe right where we pick up in this next film. But of course, what I'm really hyped about.
Ryan was cheering when he saw this.
Yes.
Literally cheering.
We see at the end, once again, big spoiler. So hopefully you've watched it. If not, pause me right now. So we get Cole Young leaving his boxing gym, and his boss goes, the owner of the gym says, you're finally leaving us. He goes, where are you headed? He goes, Hollywood. And he's walking out looking at a movie poster, and it says Citizen Cage starring Johnny Cage. So excited. I love Johnny Cage.
I need to know, Ryan.
Yes.
Who do you want to play Johnny Cage?
Oh boy.
It's got to be a big name actor. It's got to be something, because that's his backstory, right? Is that he's an actor in Hollywood and everything. So it has to be a play on.
He's kind of a B actor, if I'm not mistaken.
That should be something.
Action actor.
That should be the joke, is that he's a B actor in Mortal Kombat, but they should get an A-list actor to play him.
Ooh, I have to think about that. That's a tough one. Who I'd want to see.
Can I say my pick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Chris Hemsworth. Do you think that's not good enough?
I don't know, because Johnny Cage is also like sort of all American, so we'd have to have Chris Hemsworth going like full American accent.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe what's a good American actor out there like that? Chris Evans? I don't know.
I was thinking maybe I don't know if he's big enough though, like a Chris Pine. Is Chris Pine American? I don't know. Or is he English?
Yeah, I think he's American.
Okay, yeah. Chris Pine sort of came to mind. Maybe even who has the sort of, but I think it'd be too close to like a Star-Lord would be like Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt has the right like persona.
Totally.
Yeah, but I don't. It'd be really similar to like a Star-Lord-esque.
Yeah. Man, I wonder who they're gonna pick.
I'm really excited to see it though. Whoever it is.
Man, yeah. But yeah, Johnny Cage is gonna be awesome.
Johnny Cage, played by Nick Cage. I sure hope not, but I am excited to see Nick Cage in the Tiger King movie if we ever get that.
Joe Exotic. That is going to be absolutely bonkers, but I feel like it's going to be cool.
Oh, it's going to be so cool. I mean, Nick Cage is completely off the deep end now. I mean, I don't know anyone who's a fan of the history of swear words, but I love him in it.
Yeah.
But he's kind of gone off the deep end, and I'm all for it. I love Nick Cage unhinged, especially if he's playing someone as unhinged as Joe Exotic. Sorry, side tangent there, but Mortal Kombat was amazing. Moral of the story.
Yeah, and I think there's potential for this franchise. There's definitely room for improvement. But man, we have the definite potential for a good Mortal Kombat. I'd say at least a trilogy here.
Okay, yeah. I'm all for it. I don't
think they could go many more than a trilogy, but if we plan it out and we take our time after this one, they plan it out, we get a good second film and a good third film, we have a solid trilogy.
I hate to say it. I think this one hit it out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
And in my mind, maybe they're going for a trilogy, but I think the second one's just going to be awful.
Okay.
Especially hearing what you're saying about some people saying there's too much gore. I think because of that, they may try and cut it and change it so that it's more action and less dialogue, which I'm afraid that that's the direction they're going to go.
I don't know.
And it may ruin the second film.
I don't know. I could be, but then again, between Kano and how much great dialogue he had, I have faith that these writers that wrote this movie, when they're given Johnny Cage, they will deliver. I feel like.
Okay, and there's some awesome scenes in the game too. The relationship between Johnny Cage and Sonia Blade. Really excited to see that executed on screen.
That's going to be good too. So hopefully that we get a great sequel to this one. Hopefully it comes sooner than later. But we'll see what happens. Mortal Kombat final score for me is going to be a 7. Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if I'm unbiasedly reviewing this, I'm giving it a 7.5. But because of my childhood nostalgia, I'm giving this one an 8.5.
Fantastic. All right, guys, let us know what you thought of Mortal Kombat down below. Did you see it? Let us know what you thought about the fight scenes. Do you want to see a sequel? All of that below. Give us your opinions, of course. Also, like and subscribe if you want to see some more reviews coming your way. Do we have any more future reviews planned, Ryan?
I think coming up next, we're going to be doing the Planet of the Apes, the new Planet of the Apes trilogy.
Yes.
So we'll be reviewing that for sure. We have some other films in the hopper as well that we want to, we recorded before we had our microphone here. So the audio is not great. We'll probably re-record things like Ford versus Ferrari. Did we ever launch Run?
We need to re-record that.
Run. Just some others as well.
Bad Education.
Yeah, Bad Education. So we'll be coming at you with more. And then, of course, Loki coming out next month. And, HBO Max is going to continue rolling out the blockbuster films. I think next up, maybe In the Heights, which we're both really excited about. For those of you who remember our Hamilton review, we're huge Lin-Manuel Miranda fans, so really excited to see what they do with In the Heights. But yeah, we'll just keep the reviews coming for you. Yeah, go ahead.
Really quick, I do want to try, if I get some free time this weekend, I want to try to record just maybe a solo, or you can join too if you want, Ryan. I want to record a solo review or just a review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. I really want to talk about that one. There's a lot of stuff I have to say. So maybe you'll join me, maybe not. We'll see what happens there. But stay tuned for that. Did you remind them about our podcast services?
Oh, yep. So for those of you that are listening on our podcasts, our podcasts services, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well. Please leave us a 5-star review. Thanks for listening. We love having your guys' support as well, and feel free to like, follow, subscribe. Those of you that are watching it on YouTube. But thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week. Later.